Time and keep it inside of 5 minutes. This is a personal service contract that has restricted funds, as you can see on the second page. But before we get there, I just want to point out a couple of things on the first page. This is to furnish and install video systems on 358 buses in 3 bus yards. And I'm going to touch on a couple of things like scope and location that sort of is a moving target throughout dealing with this department. It's for $6 million. When we get into the description of the work, it's all wayside equipment in the yards. So you'll see that MUNI is a big place. You have a lot of physical plant. You have tunnels, 3rd Street, then you have the yards themselves, then you have the rolling stock. Wayside is everything other than the rolling stock. So this is the maintenance of the new video surveillance system. When we say which classifications normally perform the work, I'd like to call your attention to, we cite the journey level 7318 and a sub-journey and an assistant supervisor is the only relevant classifications that perform the work. Again, we go on to say that 7318s will maintain the system, and I want to talk about maintenance and restriction of the use of funds. We understand that these are Homeland Security dollars. They're restricted. It has to go out, can't go inside. And with additional information, which is what brought me here, and I will bring you to that in 1 second. In 5B, we say that this contract includes 8 hours of maintenance, troubleshooting, and repair of the new video surveillance system. 8 hours on a $6 million contract. Then we go on to, again, with the journey level, class 7318, and the assistant supervisorial, and the restriction on personnel costs. Next in the packet is an airport personal service contract. We're very familiar with it. Same amount, $6 million. This is from the TSA, the feds. This is tighter regs on air travel than it is on public transit. And it's very similar. Cameras, the existing air train, perimeter boarding area cameras, etc. We're very familiar with these things. On the net classifications, 7345, the journey level electrician, fiber splicer, electronic maintenance technician manager, the journey level, and then an assistant supervisor. And they will be trained and involved in training. So for the same $6 million contract with the airport, we're going to do 1,040 hours, which will be on the 3rd sheet of that personal service contract. Approximately 1,040 hours of training will be provided, and you can see the classifications that they cite. Many are engineering, but they put in our journey level, assistant supervisorial, and second line supervisor. You'll see why that becomes problematic at the municipal railway for us. We have another item pending on that. The next item in this packet is a memorandum. It's dated June 21. It's from John Haley. It's about this MTA video program. What I'd like you to call to your attention is 5,000 cameras on buses, rail cars, etc. And we have 5 budgeted positions. So here's this problem: 1,000 cameras per 1 journey level position, and they're all journey level. And we appoint this person. I've got it highlighted, Neil Pop, acting senior bus maintenance person. So we have grant dollars that must go outside. We have an internal shortage that drives a certain necessity, and I want to show you how this necessity unfolds. The next page, we have Mr. Pop, who then assigns this a right-hand person, Mr. Virgil Benz. So what comes about with this demand and this necessity? The following page is a purchase order. It's for $77,925. You can see that it is for maintenance, repair, and security systems, equipment, yearly maintenance agreement for 12 months. It's $6,300 per month. For under 10,000, appointing officer can has broad discretion. Over 10,000. You've got to vet this. You can't bury a maintenance contract in a purchase order. So again, it's level of necessity now. We've got all these cameras. We've had incidents on MUNI in June of 2010, which necessitated YouTube videos of incidents that the police department, the city attorney's office, put pressure on MTA to say, hey, give us these videotapes of these incidents. They're woefully understaffed. The equipment doesn't work, and that's the driver here. So we have a maintenance agreement that is masked in a personal service contract that is, in a purchase order. So we can see that the period covered August 1st of 2010 through July 31, 2011. So this purchase order, which is a maintenance contract for CCTV video, and look at the locations again now. Cable car, Kirkland, Metro. This is the wayside. This is not the rolling stock side. The next sheet, you will see the internal verification. So this thing's been awarded and let. And we can see the next document is the microbiz security company yearly maintenance agreement. So they're engaging in maintenance agreements. And my concern here is they're going to get $6 million here on this grant fund. I understand it's restricted. And we don't want those dollars to migrate, first of all, into the public employees. That's restricted. We also don't want that utilized to say, oh, 358 cameras, if you spend $10,000 a bus, it's $3.5 million. This is $6 million. You still have $2.25 million. We don't want, given their propensity here to get outside the box a little bit on the contracting award process, we do not want the MTA to use these grant dollars for an unintended use, which would be to allow these contracts, such as microbiz, to do maintenance work. Right? That's a violation of the grant. That's a violation of the civil service rules without vetting it and showing some determination of efficiency and benefit to the public. They get a little bit loose here, and that's why I'm here. So I don't know that they know the process. They have a lot of new people there. You can see in June of 2010, we have this is the new person to have oversight over this section of the MTA. So you will see this is maintaining the equipment, so this is clearly a maintenance contract. I've never seen it before until what happens is our members see their employees working on equipment that they do. So at any rate, you can see the cost. I've highlighted the cost, $195 an hour and $97.50 for the second technician. This is if we get outside the normal workday. And then you can see these locations. This is an unexecuted document, but there's an executed document, which is why I put what's in front of it. You can see a second page where we expand and we go to 17 facilities. So I made this distinction between wayside and the rolling stock. And you're going to see communications here where MUNI has shown an intent to have the rolling stock onboard video equipment, and we do the power distribution, the overhead grid system. You're going to see where the municipal railway would like the wayside, all the physical plant stuff to be done by contractors. And they have a right, and there's a process. And that's what we'd like them to follow. And we don't want these, what we're going to ask at the end is that you instruct MTA as to the process of how you are supposed to vet public service contracts or maintenance contracts. So the next document here is a communication from Neil Pop. He's the head of maintenance of a $600 million a year department. And you can see maintenance will do what we're best at, which is handling vehicles and their components. So they want to sub out maintenance contracts. And the next set of communications, I won't try your patience here too much. You will see on this, there's a last sheet here. It's got an individual's name at the top. I've got it highlighted. It's the last email in your packet here. This is from Elson Howe. Elson is the principal engineer for capital improvements. In reference to this transit security grant program, he states that maintenance is not an eligible cost. However, there are new security grants that can apply to pay a maintenance contract of the video surveillance system. So as long as there's recognition from this department, and you've seen other senior people who he doesn't really have rank over, there's a lean towards letting this work, letting these grant dollars go to usurp maintenance employees, essentially. So the second to last sheet is these are allowable expenses. This stuff comes heavily restricted. You can see on the Homeland Security dollars, explosive detection K-19s, and then fringes. You can equipment costs, certain things are eligible, mobile explosive screening team, certain eligible costs that can be charged against these dollars. But what you can't do is take these dollars and use them to do other maintenance work. If you're woefully understaffed on your existing infrastructure complement of employees, you cannot misappropriate these funds. So what we would request is that the commission let us know if we're seriously off track here, and instruct the MTA, as you've seen in some of these contracts, and unfortunately there are others, where they're under the belief that they can include maintenance in contracts that they just let out, as if it's under $10,000. Even if it was job order contracting, there's a $400,000 limit. There's a cap. They don't know what's going on. So, at any rate, the requests are that they be advised that maintenance contracts are subject to the terms and conditions of the San Francisco Administrative Code and personal service contract policies of civil service, that a determination of efficient use of public dollars is subject to a vetting process. In one of those emails, and I don't want to chew up all your time here, but in one of those emails you're going to see a determination by one individual who says, it's more efficient if we do this, farm it out. That determination of efficiency does not lie with one individual. That's the process, and they're not clear. That the scope of contracts be clearly defined. When they, wayside, T-line, bus yards, they've got to be specific. Where's the $6 million going to go? At $10,000 a bus, you're still not there. There is an RFQ that's out there currently. If they don't spend it on Homeland Security authorized expenditures, capital improvements, it's not going to walk over onto the operations side, operations/maintenance. And the last thing that we would ask is that MTA be directed to stay inside the grant restrictions as it relates to the installation of new work, no maintenance of existing systems with these grant dollars, no grant dollars to offset operational expenses, and the shifting of maintenance work to vendors under the guise of a capital improvement. And with that, I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions? One of the emails, let's see here. And the email is addressed to Elson Ho and U. Reynolds. He states, Mr. Dennis states, quote, I spoke with Neil, and what we would like to see is the maintenance of all platforms, facilities, portals, and stations be put under one general maintenance contract. That would free our guys to focus on the 1,000 plus vehicles that need greater maintenance and repairs to raise their level of service readiness, unquote. Would not that be a valid policy decision?
It would, as long as it's properly vetted. Certainly it's within the number.
And the email is addressed to Elson Ho and U. Reynolds. He states, Mr. Dennis states, quote, I spoke with Neil, and what we would like to see is the maintenance of all platforms, facilities, portals, and stations be put under one general maintenance contract. That would free our guys to focus on the 1,000 plus vehicles that need greater maintenance and repairs to raise their level of service readiness, unquote. Would not that be a valid policy decision?
It would, as long as it's properly vetted. Certainly it's within the coaches or something like that. And there is one for the two trolley divisions, another 300 vehicles. And there is one person that stands in the shop on Marin Street. That's the total, that is what the video staffing has been reduced to.
And it's been reduced why?
Primarily attrition, as people have retired over the years. And so what the concern is that rather than hire, what's the easiest thing when you have this necessity? If you're a manager, the simplest, easiest thing for you to do is to put this thing out to bid, get the lowest responsible bidder, hand that thing off, wash your hands of it, wait for someone to make a determination of compliance with the contract, and authorize payment. That's, as a manager, it gets no easier. I have to hire, there is a current 7318 list. I have to hire, I have to have an inventory of parts. Now, that has been done historically, and it may or may not be the most effective, most efficient. I believe that it is, especially in electrical, electronics. But there has to be some showing. It has to be vetted. That's what both the admin code and the rules anticipate. And they clearly are unclear on that. And while they have this necessity, if they've already shown a lean towards, let's just expedite resolution of this, and they're gonna, and I do not want to see those grant dollars walk over there to alleviate that problem that they've let fester until they get to this point.
Do you have any layoffs in this class?
No, we've had attrition. We have a loss. Yeah, we're down approximately, I would say, somewhere in the neighborhood of 21 in that classification, which has about, at that department, 220 incumbents, so about a 10% reduction currently. And they have an active list, and so when they don't fill behind, one can only, I don't know what you conclude, but they don't fill behind with an active, budgeted rec, active list of eligibles, and over 3 to 4 years, since there have been certain incentives to retire, they have not filled behind and have found themselves in this situation, which would have gone unchecked but for the incidents on public transit, where someone punches somebody and it prompts SFPD and the city attorney to say, MUNI, give us the candidate, give us the video. They don't have it, which is not a crime. Bart won't give you anything. I don't, why MUNI wants to hand that stuff out is beyond me anyway. But
You do not contend that personal services contract request number 4005-11/12, which is the matter before the commission today, you do not contend that this proposed contract will actually be, will in fact be used for maintenance?
that is currently in the RFQ, which I just got about an hour ago, and I would have made copies of, but that is in the current RFQ. I'm sorry, they asked a question regarding maintenance. And they request I just got this, I apologize for having to do this like this. For maintenance, and I'll find it, and I'll get it to you. If I can't find it right here, I'll get it to you, it's here. It's just the requirements.
Anyway, please get it to us.
Yeah.
So that we have this being reflected by the president.
I will.
Is this a substitute for hiring from the engineering system?
Yeah. Do you offer a service maintenance program? If yes, how much? It's in the questions. Do you offer a service maintenance program? If yes, how much? And the rest is the usual contractual type things. Do you have video surveillance equipment specified in section 1?
President, Commissioners. This particular PSC is definitely not a maintenance contract. And just to elaborate on that, the existing system, if there's an incident in the bus, someone from the security office has to chase the bus around in the yard, get the hard drive, go back to the office, put it on a computer to view it. This particular video system is a more advanced system because it will allow for internet download of all incident videos, so the security people don't have to go chasing the bus in the yard. They could download it from the internet and then view it from their computer in their office. At the same time, there's also a provision in there that the system should be viewable within 500 feet of the bus, so that in case there's a bus is hijacked and there's terrorism activity, the police or first-time responders could view what's happening inside the bus and outside the bus. That is definitely not in our existing system. The wayside equipment that Mr. Yusuf is alluding to is basically antennas and hardware system that we need to put in the Potrero, Presidio, and Kirkland yards, so that again, when the bus enters the yard, all these incident videos can be downloaded via Wi-Fi technology, again into the server, goes into the computer, and our people can view the system almost instantaneously from their computer. So it is our people. So maintenance people they will continue, once the system has been put in place, our existing maintenance folks will continue to maintain the system. Okay? So the contract is to design, integrate, and install this entire system as a whole. That is what this is. It's not a substitute for maintaining the existing system. The existing system is so old that it's actually the video shop people who wants the system to be put in place. Again, because of the incidents that we've had in some of our buses. So it is a new, improved system that we're installing.
That will be just want to be absolutely carried.
Definitely.
Commissioner Cruz has some questions.
Right now, the documents are with the city attorney's office. It's an RFP that we are trying to finish up so that we can issue. We're trying to issue it in August.
So you're trying to issue
An RFP, a request for proposal. We've had an RFQ put out early this year, but since at least there were 2 vendors that had responded and said, yes, we can provide that system, but you are looking for FDA guidelines says if more than 2 people says that they can provide that system, you don't have to go through a testing procedure. You can definitely go for an RFP and solicit from various vendors.
and was that true?
I think at that point since we didn't know even if this type of system is actually exists, this was early this year, so we had those questions whether that was just an option wherein if these vendors can actually also provide the maintenance for that particular system that we were looking at. This contract itself, part of the reason is the vendor will provide 2-year warranty contract for this particular system that we're trying to put in our buses. And that was part of the question in the RFQ, request for qualification, early this year that we submitted. Again, when this sort of came about, no one knew whether this technology of downloading and viewing it is all capable.
But the current draft of the RFP then does not have.
No, there is no provision for maintenance contract for that for this RFP that we're providing, that we're trying to issue.